The underestimated species. The vast chamber of the Galactic Assembly fell silent as Dr. Ilara Chen approached the central podium. 5,000 delegates representing over 300 spacefaring civilizations watched the human with a mixture of curiosity and barely concealed disdain. The chamber itself was a marvel of engineering, a massive spherical space station orbiting a neutral star system, designed to accommodate species from methane breathers to silicon-based life forms. Dr. Chen stood just over 5.5 feet tall, diminutive compared to most of the Assembly's dominant species. Her dark hair was pulled back in a simple style, her blue diplomatic uniform crisp and unadorned, except for a single silver pin depicting Earth. She carried herself with quiet confidence that contrasted sharply with the elaborate ceremonial displays preferred by most galactic representatives. "Esteemed members of the Assembly," she began, her voice calm but projected clearly through the chamber's acoustic enhancement field. "The United Earth Confederation appreciates this opportunity to address our concerns regarding Valkyrian expansion into the Orion Spur." From the elevated platform reserved for the Assembly's founding species, Supreme Commander Thax of the Valkyrian Empire made a dismissive gesture with one of his 4 upper limbs. His scaled skin rippled with bioluminescent patterns that every diplomat present recognized as a sign of contempt. "The Assembly's time is valuable." Thax's deep voice rumbled through the translator fields. "Humanity has been part of galactic society for barely a century. Your species hasn't even colonized your entire home system yet. By what authority do you question the movements of the Valkyrian fleet?" Murmurs of agreement rippled through the chamber. The Valkyrians had been spacefaring for over 12,000 years, their empire spanning dozens of systems. Their technological prowess was exceeded only by their military might. "By the authority of sovereign space," Dr. Chen replied evenly. "The Arcturus system lies within the boundaries established by the Treaty of Deneb, to which the Valkyrian Empire is a signatory." Supreme Commander Thax's skin flashed with patterns of amusement. "The Treaty of Deneb assigns development rights based on technological capability. Humanity's classification as a Category 3 civilization limits your territorial claims to your home system and immediate surroundings. We've documented 78 Valkyrian military vessels entering the Arcturus system in the past standard year," Dr. Chen continued. "Our diplomatic channels have requested explanations and been ignored." High Arbiter Zolan, the ancient Mersian who served as the Assembly's chief mediator, raised a tentacle for attention. His translucent body pulsed with the soft blue light that indicated thoughtful consideration. "The Valkyrian presence in disputed regions follows established protocols," the Arbiter stated. "Their civilization ranking permits priority access to systems that Category 3 species lack the capability to fully develop." Dr. Chen nodded respectfully to the Arbiter. "Earth understands the Assembly's classification system. However, we formally request the Valkyrians cease military movements in Arcturus immediately. We have established research outposts and mining operations there." This prompted outright laughter from several delegates. A Tellarite representative didn't bother hiding his derision, his crystalline body structure vibrating with mirth. "Mining operations," he called out. "Your species still uses chemical rockets and rudimentary ion drives. It would take your ships decades to transport meaningful resources from Arcturus. Our technological development has followed a different path than many Assembly members," Dr. Chen replied without emotion. "Nevertheless, we consider Arcturus within our sphere of influence and request that all military vessels withdraw within 30 standard days." Supreme Commander Thax rose to his full 3-meter height, towering over most other delegates. His skin now pulsed with angry red patterns. "The Valkyrian Empire acknowledges no authority from pre-FTL species regarding resource-rich systems. Your request is denied. The Arcturus system contains rare heavy elements crucial to our developmental priorities." "Commander Thax," Dr. Chen's voice remained steady, "if the Valkyrian Empire continues its military presence in Arcturus, Earth will be forced to take defensive measures." The chamber erupted in mockery. Even High Arbiter Zolan's body flickered with the violet light of disbelief. Defensive measures. Fax's translator couldn't fully convey the contempt in his voice. Your most advanced warships use nuclear propulsion and projectile weapons. A single Valkyrian cruiser could eliminate your entire defense fleet. Dr. Chen gathered her materials calmly. I have been instructed to inform the Assembly that Earth has established clear boundaries. We prefer peaceful cooperation, but we will defend our interests. This is not a threat, merely information the Assembly should possess when mediating this dispute. As she turned to leave the podium, Supreme Commander Thax called after her. They're only humans. What could they possibly do? The laughter followed her all the way to the chamber's exit. Admiral Reza Karim stood on the bridge of the EDF Intrepid, watching the tactical display with impassive eyes. At 58, he had spent 40 years in Earth's service, rising through the ranks during humanity's quiet preparation for this moment. Status of the Valkyrian fleet? He asked. Commander Sarah Wells responded immediately. 27 vessels, sir. They've established orbital positions around Arcturus IV and deployed mining platforms. Our stealth probes confirm they're stripping rare Earth elements from the fourth moon. Admiral Karim nodded slowly. And our diplomatic channels. No response to the last 3 communications, Admiral, reported Lieutenant Commander Jackson. The Valkyrian commander sent only one message stating, and I quote, Category 3 species have no standing to make demands. Withdraw your observation vessels or face consequences. I see. Admiral Karim's expression remained neutral. The 30-day grace period ended 6 hours ago. Send the final warning as drafted by Central Command. Minutes passed in tense silence as the message was transmitted. The bridge crew of the Intrepid, hidden behind Arcturus VI's largest moon, waited with practiced discipline. Response incoming, Admiral, announced Communications Officer Chen. Text only. It reads, Your presence is noted and will be dealt with accordingly. The Valkyrian Empire does not negotiate with primitive species. Admiral Karim sighed. They had every opportunity. Lieutenant Reeves, activate Umbra Protocol. Umbra Protocol activated, sir. Reeves confirmed after entering a complex sequence into her console. Phase shift drives online. Dimensional cloaking engage. Around Arcturus VI, seemingly empty space rippled as 7 Earth vessels, previously undetectable even to advanced Valkyrian sensors, activated their propulsion systems. The ships moved silently, leaving no energy signatures or radiation trails. Fleet positions optimal. Admiral, reported Commander Wells. All vessels report ready. Execute Operation Revelation. Authorization Karim Alpha 93. Across the Arcturus system, precisely targeted pulses of energy, invisible to conventional detection systems, struck the Valkyrian vessels. The effect was immediate. Shields collapsed. Weapons systems went offline. Propulsion failed. 27 of the most advanced warships in the galaxy suddenly drifted powerless. On the primary Valkyrian command ship, War Commander Krax stared in disbelief at his failing systems. Emergency lighting bathed the bridge in an ominous red glow. What happened? He demanded. Report. His chief engineer's voice came through a backup communication channel. Unknown, Commander. All quantum matrices have collapsed simultaneously. Shield generators are offline. Weapons inoperable. We're detecting no energy signatures. No incoming fire. Incoming transmission, announced his communications officer. Origin unknown. War Commander Krax straightened his massive frame. Display. The holographic projection showed a human in a simple dark uniform. No elaborate insignia or decorations, just a small Earth emblem on the collar. This is Admiral Reza Karim of the Earth Defense Force. Your vessels have been temporarily disabled using targeted phase disruption technology. This serves as a practical demonstration of our previous warnings. You have 1 hour to begin withdrawing from the Arcturus system. Krax's skin flashed with patterns of rage and disbelief. Impossible. Human technology can it. Your understanding of human technology is based on what we have chosen to reveal, Admiral Karim interrupted calmly. The Galactic Assembly's classification system analyzes only technology that is openly displayed. Earth has developed along paths unknown to your scientists. This is an act of war, Krax thundered. The Valkyrian Empire will. This is an act of defense in sovereign space after multiple warnings, Karim corrected. In 1 hour, your propulsion systems will be restored, allowing you to withdraw. Your weapons and shields will remain offline until you exit the system. Further incursions will be met with more permanent measures. The transmission ended abruptly. On the bridge of the Intrepid, Admiral Karim turned to his executive officer. Prepare a full report for Earth Command. And contact Dr. Chen at the Galactic Assembly. I believe she'll be receiving some interesting questions shortly. The emergency session of the Galactic Assembly was called just 6 hours after the Arcturus incident. The chamber buzzed with alarmed conversations as representatives from dozens of species tried to make sense of the unprecedented situation. Dr. Chen stood at the same podium where she had been mockingly dismissed days earlier. Now, all eyes focused on her with new intensity. High Arbiter Zolan's body pulsed with anxious yellow light. The Assembly demands an explanation for this unprovoked attack on Valkyrian vessels. There was no attack, Arbiter, Dr. Chen replied. Only a defensive response following multiple diplomatic warnings. All Valkyrian personnel remain unharmed, and their vessels have now safely left the Arcturus system. Supreme Commander Thax stormed to the center of the chamber, his skin blazing with patterns of rage. Your species concealed advanced technology from the Assembly. This violates the most fundamental principles of galactic cooperation. Dr. Chen met his gaze steadily. The Assembly's charter requires members to register commercial technologies and public capabilities. It does not obligate disclosure of defensive systems. Earth has shared all technologies relevant to peaceful cooperation. The chamber erupted in shouted questions and accusations. High Arbiter Zolan finally restored order after several minutes of chaos. This incident raises profound questions about humanity's true technological status, Zolan announced. The Assembly may need to reconsider Earth's classification. Earth has no objection to reclassification, Dr. Chen responded. However, we would first recommend the Assembly review the Treaty of Deneb, particularly Article 17 regarding territorial sovereignty regardless of technological classification. As the session continued late into the night, Dr. Chen remained composed while answering countless questions about human capabilities. She revealed little concrete information but made one thing abundantly clear. Humanity would no longer be dismissed as an insignificant newcomer to the galactic stage. In the shadowy observation gallery above the chamber, Admiral Karim watched the proceedings with quiet satisfaction. Humanity had hoped to integrate peacefully into the galactic community, but the Valkyrians and other dominant species had left them no choice. The veil had been lifted, if only slightly. The next move belonged to the Assembly. The hidden strength. 3 days after the Arcturus incident, the Central Council of the Valkyrian Empire gathered in their sacred war chamber on Valkyria Prime. The ancient hall, carved from a single massive crystal a millennium ago, was traditionally reserved for planning major conquests. Today, it hosted an emergency crisis meeting. Supreme Commander Thax stood before the assembled council, his scaled skin showing complex patterns of anger and humiliation. Above the gathering, a holographic display showed detailed sensor logs from the disabled fleet. The humans employed technology we cannot explain, Thax admitted reluctantly. Our best scientists have analyzed the data. They believe Earth has developed some form of interdimensional phase manipulation that allows them to bypass conventional shields and target specific systems. Grand Marshal Zora, the Empire's most decorated military leader, flashed patterns of skepticism. Impossible. Our intelligence indicates their most advanced public research barely approaches basic gravity manipulation. They cannot have leapfrogged centuries of development. Yet they did, Thax responded. And worse, we have no idea how long they've possessed these capabilities or what else they might be concealing. The Emperor himself, rarely seen outside the imperial palace, raised a limb for attention. His ancient scales had faded to a pale blue with age, but his eyes remained sharp. "How did we miss this?" he demanded, his voice carrying the weight of 12 millennia of imperial tradition. The intelligence director stepped forward, her scales showing the muted patterns of one delivering unwelcome news. "We may have fundamentally misunderstood human development, Your Eminence. While other species publicly demonstrate their technological advancements and compete for status, humans appear to have deliberately concealed their progress." "Deception," hissed a council member. "Strategic restraint," corrected the intelligence director. "Our analysts now believe this may explain several anomalies we've observed. The humans explore space using seemingly primitive vessels, yet their resource extraction efficiency exceeds expectations. Their colonies appear vulnerable, yet suffer remarkably few pirate attacks." Emperor Cross's scales shifted to a thoughtful pattern. "What do they want?" "Based on their diplomatic communications, simply to be left alone in their claimed territory," said Thax. "But no rising species has ever been satisfied with limited expansion." Grand Marshal Zora's scales flashed with the pattern used before launching military campaigns. "We must test their capabilities fully. I propose immediate mobilization of the Ninth Fleet." The Emperor considered for a long moment. "Proceed, but with caution. If their technology can disable our vessels without detection, we need to understand its limitations." In the Oval Office of the White House, President Amara Jackson studied the holographic display showing Valkyrian fleet movements. At 49, she had spent most of her career in intelligence before entering politics, and she understood the significance of what she was seeing. "They're assembling a much larger force," she observed. "The Ninth Fleet, according to our intelligence." Admiral Karim nodded grimly. 112 vessels, Madam President. Far more than what we faced at Arcturus." Secretary of Defense David Chin shook his head. "They're calling our bluff. They don't believe we can replicate the Arcturus operation on a larger scale." "Can we?" the President asked directly. "Yes," Admiral Karim confirmed. "But it would reveal more of our capabilities than we initially planned. The phase shift technology was supposed to remain classified for another decade." Dr. Ilara Chen, recently returned from the Galactic Assembly, spoke up. "The political situation is volatile. Many Assembly members are demanding information about Earth's true technological status. Some are frightened, others intrigued. The Balance Coalition is proposing a special commission to reassess humanity's classification." President Jackson stood and walked to the window, looking out at the Washington Monument in the distance. "We knew this day would come eventually. The question now is how much to reveal." "The Umbra Protocol was designed as a defensive system," Admiral Karim reminded her. "If we deploy it against the entire Ninth Fleet, the Valkyrians and others will begin developing countermeasures." "And if we don't?" asked the President. Secretary Chen answered grimly. "The Valkyrians will interpret it as proof that Arcturus was either a fluke or the limit of our capabilities. They'll push harder into other systems we've claimed." The President turned back to face her advisors. "We chose concealment as our strategy for a century because we were vulnerable. Earth needed time to develop and secure our position without becoming a target for advanced civilizations. That approach has brought us this far, but perhaps it's time for a change." She looked directly at Admiral Karim. "Prepare the Perseus Defense Network for full activation, and inform the Assembly that I'm ready to address them personally." The Valkyrian Ninth Fleet emerged from FTL travel at the edge of the Ta-Ceti system, another star claimed by Earth, but with only a small research outpost on its fourth planet. War Commander Vrax, cousin to the humiliated commander from the Arcturus incident, was determined to restore the Empire's honor. "All vessels in combat formation," he ordered. "Advance at half speed. Full shields." "War Commander," his sensor officer reported, "we're detecting no human military presence in the system." Vrax's scales showed patterns of satisfaction. As expected, their little trick at Arcturus was likely a one-system capability, perhaps using hidden installations. Here, they are defenseless. The massive fleet moved forward in perfect formation, a display of power meant to intimidate as much as to attack. The Valkyrian capital ships, each nearly 2 kilometers long, bristled with weapons capable of reducing planets to molten slag. "Sir," the communications officer suddenly reported, "we're receiving a transmission." From Earth. Vrax flashed a pattern of surprise. "Earth? That's over 12 light-years from here." "Yes, sir. It appears to be real-time." "Impossible," Vrax muttered. No known communication technology could transmit faster than light without quantum entanglement relays, which required physical installation in both systems. "Display it." The holographic screen activated, showing a human female in formal attire. Behind her stood several military officers and what appeared to be civilian leaders. "War Commander Vrax," she began without preamble, "I am President Amara Jackson of the United Earth Confederation. Your fleet has entered sovereign Earth territory without authorization. You will withdraw immediately." Vrax's scales rippled with amusement. "Your reputation for audacity is well earned, human president. But this demonstration of power will proceed. Tau Ceti falls outside the protection of your tricks." President Jackson's expression remained impassive. "There are no tricks, Commander. Only technologies you do not yet understand. I have authorized the Perseus Defense Network to activate if your fleet proceeds beyond the orbit of Tau Ceti VI. We violated nothing," President Jackson countered firmly. "Earth disclosed everything required by our membership agreement. We simply didn't volunteer information about classified military technologies, just as the Valkyrian Empire has never shared details of its quantum disruption weapons." Fax's scales flickered in surprise at this mention of a supposedly secret Valkyrian weapons program. "Yes, Commander," the President said with a slight smile. "We know about those too. Every major power in this assembly maintains classified technologies. Earth simply took that common practice to its logical conclusion." High Arbiter Zolan intervened, his body now pulsing with calmer blue light. "What is humanity's true technological classification?" "By your conventional metrics, perhaps Category 7 or 8, President Jackson answered honestly. "But such classifications have always been problematic. They measure only specific technological paths while ignoring parallel developments. The Mersians excel at biological engineering but lag in metallurgy. The Tellarites mastered crystalline computing but never developed artificial intelligence. Humanity pursued quantum mechanics and dimensional physics while appearing to struggle with fusion power." She looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes and sensory organs of dozens of different species. "Earth now formally requests reclassification and appropriate territorial recognition. We seek neither conquest nor dominion, only security and peaceful development." For hours, the Assembly debated the implications. Some species reacted with outrage at humanity's deception, others with newfound respect. A few expressed terror at the military implications of Earth's revealed capabilities. As the session finally wound toward a conclusion, Supreme Commander Thax approached President Jackson in a rare personal confrontation before the Assembly. "You could have revealed your true power at any time," he said, his scales showing genuine confusion. "Why wait until we forced your hand?" President Jackson studied the towering alien thoughtfully. "Humanity has a long history of conflict among ourselves. We nearly destroy our own civilization, twice before reaching the stars. Those experiences taught us that displaying power often invites challenge rather than respect." She gestured around at the Assembly. "We wanted to join this community as equals, not conquerors or targets. When your empire dismissed us as only humans, you inadvertently gave us time to secure our position without triggering the fear that usually greets rising powers." Thax's scales showed the pattern of dawning comprehension. "Your perceived weakness was your greatest strength." "As it often is," she agreed. "Earth has no interest in galactic domination, Commander. We've seen enough of empire building in our own history to know its costs. We simply wish to ensure that when someone asks, what could humans possibly do? The answer is no longer underestimated. One standard year later, Dr. Ilara Chen stood at the observation deck of the newly established Galactic Assembly Embassy on Earth. Beside her, High Arbiter Zolan floated serenely as they watched the sunset over the Pacific Ocean. "Your world has beauty I did not expect," the ancient merchant admitted, his translucent body reflecting the golden sunlight. "Many things about Earth are unexpected," Dr. Chen replied with a smile. "That's a trait humans tend to cultivate." "The Assembly is still adapting to humanity's new status," Zolan said. "Some species remain concerned. Understandably so. Change is difficult, especially for civilizations that have known stability for millennia." Below them, San Francisco bustled with activity. Aliens from dozens of worlds now walked openly among humans, engaged in diplomatic missions, cultural exchanges, and trade negotiations. The revelation of Earth's true capabilities had fundamentally altered the galactic dynamic. The Valkyrian Empire has formally recognized all 17 systems claimed by Earth, Zolan noted, an unprecedented concession. "And we shared our advances in agricultural biotechnology, with their colony worlds suffering from crop failures," Dr. Chen responded. "Cooperation proves more beneficial than conflict, a philosophy many galactic powers struggle to embrace." Zolan's body pulsed with thoughtful indigo light. "I have lived for over 2,000 years, Ambassador Chen. In that time, I've witnessed dozens of species rise to prominence. Most followed the same pattern: demonstrate power, demand recognition, establish dominance, eventually decline." He turned his sensory organs toward her. "Humanity's approach was unique. You concealed your strength until revealing it became necessary. Even then, you sought balance rather than advantage." Dr. Chen watched the last rays of sunlight disappear beyond the horizon. "Perhaps because we know our own history too well to repeat its mistakes. Earth united not through conquest, but through cooperation born of necessity. We hope to bring that same spirit to the galactic community." In orbit above them, invisible to conventional sensors, the Perseus Defense Network maintained its silent vigil. Earth had revealed some of its capabilities but maintained many others in reserve, a lesson learned from centuries of human history and decades of observing galactic politics. The stars appeared one by one in the darkening sky, no longer distant mysteries but destinations where human outposts quietly thrived. Humanity had found its place among the stellar civilizations not by dominating them, but by understanding something the older species had forgotten. True strength lies not in what power you display, but in what wisdom guides its use. As representatives from a dozen worlds joined them on the observation deck for the evening reception, Dr. Chen reflected on how quickly things had changed. Just over a year ago, the Assembly had dismissed humans as an insignificant species barely worth acknowledging. Now, they approached with respect, and perhaps a hint of caution. "They're only humans," the Council had once scoffed. "They wouldn't make that mistake again."